You won't look at college game day quite the same way again after hearing the story of a Sioux Falls startup success that has become a major player in the fashion industry thanks to the CEO's business pivot. Jael Thorpe has gone from a local boutique owner to a national retail stage. Well, thank you, first of all, for making time to talk with me during you're always probably busy, but an especially busy season, I suspect, here, late summer, early fall.
Yes, yes. It's the sprint, is what we call it.
Well, everything's taking off in college, which means big business opportunity for you. And you have captured a big business opportunity with Gameday Social. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
It's a great success story. I'm going to start at the beginning, though. Where are you from originally? And talk to me a bit about the career journey.
Yeah. It's had a lot of twists and turns.
Right.
So I'm a South Dakota kid. I grew up in the village of Gary, South Dakota. I'm the oldest of 4 girls. And we just grew up, small town. We didn't have a lot. And so I always tell people I learned at a very young age to be creative and entrepreneurial. We just had to.
She began in business at age 8, selling vegetables from her mother's garden in Gary.
Spent all my money on clothes, which was probably some foreshadowing to my current career.
I feel like people sometimes are inherently wired to be entrepreneurs. Do you feel that of yourself?
Totally. It's really hard for me to imagine any other career. I'm always just thinking of opportunities. And I think that's where in college, when I was faced with, okay, I need to figure out a job, it just dawned on me, I don't have to get a job. I could start something. So, yeah.
At SDSU, she turned her photography skills into her first business.
I used my student loan money to buy, at that time, digital photography was brand new, which I'm of course dating myself. Bought a camera, some lighting, and yeah, I joke that while my friends in college were going to the bars, I was driving around the state photographing weddings. And that's where it started.
Did it light a fire in you for business ownership?
Totally. I just remember being at that age and getting some of those first checks from clients and just how energizing that was, and just seeing this chance to recognizing at a very young age that I could work. I'm always been a hard worker, but that could be rewarded in a way that I never could be working for someone. So yes, very, very much stuck to me at a young age.
Graduation led to her first storefront, a photography studio where she began selling apparel and accessories out of some extra space.
Everything I wore was from garage sales or thrift stores, and I always had this desire to level it up, like accessorizing, buying quality pieces. Like I always loved fashion.
In 2011, she grew into Jael Boutique in Brookings, then added a Sioux Falls store.
Really where my big career pivot went from retail to game day was in 2020. The Sioux Falls store just never really recovered from COVID, and we had to make the decision to close it. And so at that time, we expanded, rebranded the Brookings store, and I really started to see this opportunity, which was licensed apparel.
How did you get there? How did you make that leap from women's apparel and accessories to collegiate licensed items?
Yeah, it's interesting because I always joke, I'm not a sports fan. I don't follow sports. I don't know anything about sports. And so my husband just cringes when we start work at the university and I'm like, do they have a football team? And he's like, oh my gosh. But I understand women consumers, and where I saw the opportunity, for years we'd done a few Jack's t-shirts at our store, and they always were the top sold item in the store. And after a few years, I started to see, I think there's a bigger play here than South Dakota State t-shirts. And so really just kind of started to look at what else was around us. And even for a couple of years, I still had a very regional focus. I was like, well, let's do some NDSU, let's do some USD. And so for a couple of years, we were dabbling in that. And then I think, to be honest, really moving to Sioux Falls was a big catalyst for me in thinking more nationally than so regionally, the way I just thought in Brookings. And so yeah, I just saw the opportunity. And I think for me, being in that boutique world for so long and working so hard to make that little business thrive, I just always had this desire for something scalable. And that pretty quickly I could see that was the thing.
She moved her family and her business to Sioux Falls about 2 years ago. From a fairly under-the-radar space on Minnesota Avenue, things took off.
2021 is when we secured our first major licensing agreements with large universities. And since then, I mean, we've just continued to double or triple every single year. And sometimes I think that can sound fun or sound sexy to grow at that rapid pace, but it's hard. I mean, just to scale and to be continuously changing. It's definitely, I think this year is where I would say I feel like we've really found our stride, where we work with all of the major universities. I mean, the first few years were a lot of no's. It was really difficult to break into that world. It's just extremely competitive. And I just had to work really hard to get in front of the right people, tell the story. I think what's been compelling about our story in that world is that we're women owned, we're women led, we're small, we're able to pivot and chase trends the way that our huge competitors like Nike, Under Armour, those companies just can't do.
Gameday Social has created a niche, largely female fans who appreciate the fashion-forward, luxury-inspired looks created by a Sioux Falls team of designers.
We talk often about how can we preserve what's really special about the brand as we grow. And so really our whole team has some aspect of design in their job description, but we have a great design team, and we're just continuously looking for, we're not really looking at what's happening in the sports fashion world so much as we're looking at luxury brands, fast fashion, and then developing the collection around that.
And obviously national retailers have responded. So give me a sense of where we will find Gameday Social apparel today.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably been the most significant aspect to our growth over the past year, is onboarding with Von Maur and Dillard's and Fanatics and Academy. Scheels has been a great partner since day one. We love to work with Scheels. You'll see us in just about every Scheels store company-wide. But then we also sell to around 1,500 small businesses, and that's really where my heart is, to always be accessible to those small companies, small women-owned Main Street stores that have really found a lot of success with our product too.
What's so impressive to me is, to be clear, this team has grown, but it is not a big team. How many people about are you doing this with?
Yeah, we're a really small team. There's 12 people in Sioux Falls, and then we have a couple of sales reps around the country. We also just hired a manufacturing employee in China to be able to go visit our factories, be more boots on the ground. We're a very small team. We outsource as much as we can.
I'm almost scared to ask this. How much do you work?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the ongoing challenge to myself, is how do I balance, because I do have 3 young kids. Right. And I mean, it kind of comes and goes with the seasons. Like this time of year, I'm working a lot, but then in the winter and the spring, I'm able to have a little bit more boundary on my work. So I don't know if I can answer that question.
When are you not working? Maybe this time of year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I do get it. I am just so impressed by the business development too. And I think other people from the outside would say, how do you even get in the door at some of these names that you're talking about? Any secrets to the success there that you can share?
Being okay with hearing no a lot and following up. I mean, it kind of feels like it's the same. I think the business development has really tracked with the license development, where getting a couple of big name retailers, then other retailers are like, well, wait a minute, we don't want to miss out. You're working with them, and just that credibility that builds with the brand. Similarly to licensing, we just kind of had to get a few major colleges to give the credibility to the other ones. And so, I mean, I feel woven throughout my whole career, particularly this business, is getting really comfortable with hearing no and not letting that be definitive or final. Then it may be a no today, but let's talk again in 6 months. So persistence.
Now, can we, Sioux Falls consumers, we can't walk into your space here in downtown Sioux Falls and buy from you, but can we buy directly from Gameday Social? Can anyone buy directly from Gameday Social?
Yes. So while we are 90+% B2B and we support retailers everywhere, we do have a website, and we're working to grow that D2C side, simply because I really want to continue to develop that connection to the consumer and not necessarily always through the retailer. So we're definitely working to grow that. And yes, you can order from our website.
The business also is looking at diversifying, including some licensed collaborations with entertainers like Blake Shelton and Luke Combs.
which has been really fun, just a totally different niche. Professional sports, of course, will be the primary driver to our growth in the next phase. And so we have a couple of pretty exciting things in the works there that we're not quite able to share yet, but next year you'll start to see those products.
This time of year, Thorpe gets to occasionally step out of the office and onto the college campuses, where fans will be wearing Gameday Social apparel.
We spend a lot of time, and by we, I mean my family. We homeschool our 3 boys, and a big reason for that is to show them what we do and just to have that integration. I've always believed that integration of work and life is more important than balance. So yes, they'll get to come with us and do some of that this fall. But yeah, that's probably my favorite part, is to see the product on fans, to see their excitement, and just the confidence that comes with showing up at a social event like a game in a great outfit is really fun.
So maybe it becomes a multi-generational family business. Who knows? I mean, you're at a point now where I'm sure if you wanted to look at acquisitions, there would maybe be interest. How do you see the future of the business going?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and I do think of that often, because you grow something differently if the intent is to sell versus to have it become a multi-generational family business. And I think we're still a little early to say for sure. I do know that of my 3 boys, my oldest has a very entrepreneurial business mind, and he's interested. We love to listen to how I built this podcast together and nerd out. And so, I wouldn't rule that out, but I also could see in 5 to 10 years, if the right group came along and was able to take this to the next level and we did something else, I'm not opposed to that either. So I think it really, just the next 3 to 5 years, I think will be really telling in that.
It's interesting for you, as I think about the story, how one thing has just led to the next, and one thing has allowed you to build on the next thing. Sometimes entrepreneurs get bored too, and they do. They start looking for that next thing. If you had told Jael at SDSU that you'd one day be selling SDSU apparel nationwide, what do you think you would have said?
I do think about that. Sometimes I look back at myself 20 years ago, and had you said I would be working in sports or manufacturing, absolutely not. I think I just assumed I would always do something artistic or creative, photography, marketing. It's been just a wild ride. And I relate to your comment about just entrepreneurs thinking of the next thing, getting bored. And I have had to, in a way, just be more disciplined for myself as we grow, not allowing myself to grab the shiny things all the time, because there's more on the line, there's more people involved. And so really trying to think how to continue to build sustainably and not just allowing my creative mind to jump too far too often.
Well, congratulations again on your success. It's great to have you in the Sioux Falls business community, the Sioux Falls CEO community, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you for your support. I always love our chats.
We'd like to thank MarketBeat for sponsoring the CEO series. Stay tuned for more conversations with CEOs making news throughout the year. And for all your latest business headlines, head over to www.siouxfalls.business.